Okay, it's time for your first weapon defense. Purple belt will begin to teach you defending against sticks. Now here's a word you're going to want to get familiar with in Kenpo. Storm. Anytime the title of the technique has the word storm in it, you're going to be defending against one of these. Parker's logic behind doing that was storm is actually a reference to a hurricane, in which case there are two safe places to be. So far away that that thing can't reach you, or actually right dead smack in the middle. In this case, we're going to go to the center of the storm, the eye of the storm, where it's said very, very calm. The title of this technique is called Calming the Storm. We're going to walk right into the dead center of the storm. On this technique, again, this actually has some similarities with an orange belt technique called Five Swords, which I also omitted from your list too, because they are so similar. Again, if you're learning one, you're kind of like learning the other. So what's going to happen with Jorge, he's going to step in and give me a horizontal club attack, like he's stepping in to smack me on the side of the body, maybe the side of my head or my ribs. I'm going to give him a left outward extended block right here on his wrist. I'm never even going to touch the stick on this part. Okay, we're going to let that stick kind of wrap around behind us. Now I'm going to step in to a right neutral bow at this point. That's where you're stepping into the eye of the storm. As you can see, the stick is now behind me, and if it continued to wrap, it would just kind of wrap around my shoulder blades. Well, since we're stepping in really, really close, we might as well hit him. So the first strike in this technique is going to be a vertical fist, which is going to sneak up underneath his chin. So he's going to step in. We're going to be right here. Okay, from here, what's going to happen is I'm in a right neutral bow. My right hand, which is now in his chin, is going to come over to check his arm, while our left hand throws a vertical fist into his ribs. All right, now from here, I'm going to do a left waiter's check, track down the striking arm, back fist into his ribs, and now we're going to disarm him if he's still holding the stick. Purple belt is your introduction to defending against weapons. In fact, this particular technique is written in that one of these strikes that we're throwing in here, possibly the one to the chin, maybe the one to the ribs, or maybe the one to the stomach, one of these gets him to actually drop that stick. I like my students to have an option where if he's still hanging onto that stick, how to get this thing away from him. So what I'm going to have you do is as you strike the abdomen right here with your right hand, is grab a hold of his wrist with your left hand. And what's really, really important, I'm going to have the cameraman zoom in on this, is that when you grab his wrist, have half of your hand on his forearm, have the other half of your hand on his hand. If I just grab him on the forearm, he still has mobility in his wrist joint. He could flick that up and pop me in the head with it, or he can smack me in the groin with it. Constrict that motion of his wrist by having your hand basically in the middle. Okay, that's your first line of defense. Now my hand, you'll notice that this is very, very close to my body right here to gain some control. Don't let your elbow move up like this, because now what it comes down to is whoever's bigger and whoever's stronger. So I'm going to pull this in here really tight. Come underneath his elbow, grab the stick. Don't have a huge gap between your hand and his. Actually have your thumbs touch as you're grabbing this stick right now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this against his thumb right here, against his grip. But as you can see, if he suddenly releases that stick, it's going to end up in my groin. So what we're going to do is we're going to step up the circle or do a reverse step through as we pull this out of the way. As you can notice, I've got him in a nice little wrist lock right here to check his width as well.